Joining me right now, Republican strategist Bobby Eberle and Democratic strategist Dante Mills. Dante, I'm going to start with you. The president-elect had called the Biden administration selling and auctioning off portions of the wall illegal as well, and says that it has cost taxpayers millions of dollars. They've been doing this since 2023. A very odd decision to make after an executive order finally realizing that the immigration crisis had reached a chaos that no one could personally handle, including the Border Patrol officers. How does the decision to actually sell off parts of the wall impact Biden's legacy and the perception of Democrats?
It doesn't at all. We know that immigration is an important policy, but the plan under current President Joe Biden was not to use those pieces of material. That has nothing to do with the larger scale policy. He was actually trying to be efficient for the American people and save them money. So what he did is there was rusting steel. There was steel that wasn't going to be used. It was rusting out. So he allowed that steel to be sold to outside companies in order for it not to go to waste. It has nothing to do with the larger big picture of immigration. I think there's a national belief that we have to tighten the border and take steps we need to make our country safer. But this was just trying to save taxpayers their money.
I have to have Bobby's take on this, because I think that that's a very reasonable answer. And a lot of people at home are saying, yeah, that makes total sense. It's rusting walls. We need to get rid of things that don't make sense, that don't work. But had those portions of the wall been used, we might not be where we are today. So, Bobby, what's your take on this?
Well, right. There was a hostility from day one from the Biden administration and an overt plan to open the border. I mean, we heard over and over again that this was just seasonal. There's no border crisis, on and on and on. They stopped producing and building the wall. And this is just kind of the Biden administration's attempt to, stick a thumb in the eye of the Trump administration, just like they were doing with some of these pardons, just like they were doing with last-minute debt relief on loans, but they stopped that. A lot of maneuvers at the end that I think, to answer your question, will tarnish his legacy. This is just another maneuver because the American people understood that the Biden administration was not serious about illegal immigrations. That's why it was one of the top issues going into the election and in exit polling as well. The Democrats failed miserably on this issue, and this is just Biden's last attempt to try and subvert Trump in some way before he comes into power, before he really gets serious on border security.
And no matter what party it is, I just beg people to go online, Google Biden must use funds earmarked for the construction of the border wall from October of 2023. And he doesn't believe the barriers work, which would explain why the administration would auction off the wall. But he also says he has to use the funding to help build the wall because that's what the money was decided to be used for back in 2019. But somehow that all gets lost in the political discussions of all this. I digress. We know several Democratic leaders, they've been saying they will defy the deportation measures by President Trump. The LA Times reporting now, Stephen Miller, the incoming president's senior advisor, he now is messaging these different leaders through his nonprofit America First Legal with a warning saying if you don't comply with these orders, basically you're in breach of federal law. California's leadership, including the state's attorney general, the mayor of Los Angeles, calling this a scare tactic. Dante, how do you make sense of what's happening there?
I think it's a scare tactic. I mean, I think everything, and we hear about sanctuary cities, and you can have a disbelief on whether or not there should be a sanctuary city, but they're being handled in a legal manner. So as long as they're being handled legally and they're following the law, they shouldn't be threatened. And the threat is we're going to withhold federal funding. We're not going to allow your state to get money that they're entitled to because you don't go or believe in our plan. That's not how the government should work. Everybody should follow the legal path, and if sanctuary cities are approved and can be sanctioned and approved legally, they have the right to do that. And you can't come in and say, we're going to keep money from your state unless you get on board with us. That's just not how it should be handled.
But is it about not getting on board, or is it about standing in the way? Bobby?
Right. Well, that's the thing, is that one of these things that you've seen in sanctuary cities over and over again is a refusal to participate with ICE or CBP for them to do their job. We're not asking state and local officials to do something that's outside their mandate. We're just asking them to, if you see illegal activity, if you know there's illegals there, then contact the ICE or CBP and get the job done. And what we see, California, I really believe, is going to be an outlier because Eric Adams in New York, a sanctuary city, has had enough. and they are working with the Trump administration. Brandon Johnson in Chicago, he's not on board, but his residents of Chicago certainly are. They are protesting him in a major way because funds are going to illegals rather than the taxpayers. So these efforts by California to kind of step it up against Trump, I don't think are going to go over well, not policy-wise or publicly in California.
Real quick, follow-up here of H-1B1 or H-1B visa discussions on Twitter, X, with Elon Musk and members of the far right. Bobby, is this a whole bunch of noise? Is this opportunistic drama, meddling by the far right? What's going on?
Well, I like your adjectives. I mean, it's really raised some eyebrows because this is one where you have the base that wants, part of MAGA is America first. And when you see how these H-1B visas are actually used, I mean, the abuse is rampant with cashiers and bank tellers and secretaries. It's not highly skilled positions that Elon Musk and Ramaswamy are talking about. And so they're really not on the right page on this one, and I'm sad to see them doubling down on it because really these jobs could go to American workers and they should go to American workers.
Dante, I'll give you one final very short comment to make before we run out of time about this. I'm sure there are a lot of people who are watching this and saying, we knew they couldn't last.
So here's what it is. People are looking at the extremes of this, where they're bringing in secretaries and interns to fill these positions. But if used correctly, they are bringing the best and brightest to the country. And you anticipate or expect Elon Musk, for one, to back this because he's from outside of this country, but he's one of the best and brightest. So we should want those people in here. We have to protect that program. But yes, we do have to make sure they're following the rules and not using it to bring in other people who don't fit that category, but they just want to be able to pay them less.
I like that you both kind of sound like you're in agreement on this last question. Yes. Let's do everything right.
You brought us together, Adrian.
See, unity.
It's the holidays. It's the holidays.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Dante, Bobby. We appreciate you both. And again, Happy New Year.
All right, friends, thanks again for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And before you go, please hit that subscribe button above. Once you do, tell your friends, share it, spread the word about the 13-minute news hour so we can keep growing. And for more great content, check out these videos right here, and I'll see you next time.